can get started. Thank you for coming out tonight. As always, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you'll all stand with us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Carrie, if you'll read the roll call tonight.
Mr. Steinberg?
Here.
Mrs. Rourke?
Here.
Mr. White?
Here.
Mr. Whittington?
Here.
Mayor Orman?
Here. Thank you for coming out tonight. At this time, we'll open the floor to public comments. So if you've got something that's not on our agenda tonight and you'd like to approach the council, now is your opportunity. I just ask that you give your name and address for the record.
My name is Nita Baker, and my address is 11 Broadway, Box 246 in Hanscom, Minnesota. I just have two concerns. One is about the property on 317 Lorraine. I do know from personal experience that if that person that is living on that property does get evicted, he has a very hot temper. My only concern is with my granddaughter. I would like to know also is if that person is evicted, I'm here for my son because he's not able to be here. I am curious as to who would pay for the cleanup, if he would be responsible for it or not. That's the only concerns I have.
I guess I don't know 100% the answer to that, but I believe that would fall to the property owner.
Okay.
For abatement, if that's the way the council decided to go. Am I correct in that?
Okay.
Yep.
And is there any way possible, maybe John, you can answer this question, is if my granddaughter is able to be taken off of the property, if that does happen?
I guess that's kind of up to her mom, I guess, and.
Okay. Because I'm very
The
concerned.
father, you know.
I'm very concerned for her safety. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? All right, then we'll proceed. Council, you've got the agenda in front of you tonight. Are there any alterations to tonight's agenda? Additions, modifications? All right, seeing none, I'll look for a motion to approve our agenda tonight.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries. Then in your packet, beginning on page 3 there, you've got the council minutes from our January 3rd and January 19th meetings. Did anyone see anything that needs correction in those minutes? All right, seeing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries. Under the consent agenda tonight, there's a number of things. One item, I guess, that I would bring to everyone's attention, item 10, Resolution 2022-11. And this is the resignation of Dan Rushmeyer from the fire department. And so he served, do we know how many years he served? I don't
23 or 24.
23 maybe? So over 20 years on our fire department, and so as he moves off to other things, I guess I would just like to put this out there like a thank you from the city council for all of his service to the community. So if anyone's watching at home, thank you, Dan. But that is a part of our consent agenda tonight. So any other items in the consent agenda that anyone would like to have pulled for further discussion? All right, then I'll look for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
There's There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. We had all of our presentations last meeting, so I don't think we have any presentations tonight. We don't have any public hearings scheduled, so we'll move into old business. The first item is 317 Leray Avenue and nuisance abatement. So we heard from Nita here a little bit earlier. Jennifer and John, I'll let you give us a little background and kind of a status report.
Sounds good. I put in my memo here, I'll turn it over to Chief of Police John Kopp to provide update on the nuisance matter that was discussed at the last meeting. But I do have some pictures that Chief Kopp took to show you the issues that we were discussing at the last meeting involved sheet metal that was being stored, and it appears based on the pictures that that has been moved. And I know Chief Kopp has worked with the property owner on another matter involving some vehicles, so I'll just turn over to you, John, and I'll pull up the pictures, just give an update.
So shortly after our last meeting, I want to say about a week or so after, the scrap metal was removed from the property. Another issue that was brought to my attention was the vehicles that were parked in the front yard of the property. I talked to the property owner and the party that has a lot of the vehicles, and I let them know they can't park on their front yard because unless it's a snow emergency, it's against city ordinance to do so. And they have since moved the trailer and moved the vehicles to the side yard and lined them up, I guess, as the neat of a fashion as you can. I verified that all the vehicles ran. The tabs are good on the vehicles except for one that's due in February, which is good till the end of March, or until March, so that's still currently licensed yet. So that's kind of where we're at with that. That white car has since been moved as well. Over to the side of the,
So it hasn't moved off the property?
No,
It just
it just
moved
moved.
on premises?
yes,
Are
correct.
these vehicles junk vehicles, or are these vehicles someone's drivers?
I believe they said they all ran, so I checked that by ordinance. I checked the tabs on them. One vehicle has a non-expiring plate. It's a Chevy S10 that's on the property. The camper has current tabs on it. Got that license back when we were still before, just when the snow started to fly, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with those. They all moved because I saw them change from the spot where they were before, so I know they all run at least. So as far as if they drive them out on the road, I guess I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I've driven by several times since our last meeting, and it does look like progress has been made. You know, the scrap has been moved. Do we know, do we have any, I'm drawing a blank on the word I'm looking for. Do we have any agreement or understanding from the tenants that to operate a scrap business is not allowed and that we won't get this
Yeah,
again?
I've indicated it to both the male party that lives there with her and the property owner that lives there that, you know, scrapping business isn't allowed in town. Don't, you know, I mentioned to them, don't bring it back into town. So hopefully they don't. There's been a fairly open communication between the property owner and the male gentleman. They'll call me from time to time with questions. And I keep a close eye on the property, try to make sure that we don't have anything that's too wild and going on or anything like that. So, like I say, I've been monitoring it more closely, so.
I just, you know, I would commend them for the work that they've done. It looks like they've done what we've asked them to. But my concern now is shifting gears from a metal scrap to an automobile scrap yard. And I don't want to see it turn into something like that.
No, I would agree.
So if you're having good conversation and open dialogue, I would reiterate that that's my concern as a council member. I don't know about the rest of the council's thinking on the matter, but, I guess, in my opinion, I think they've done what we've asked them to, and I'm satisfied with where we're at. Any other council comments, thoughts?
No, I'll relay that information and message to them, and I've said in the past, if they have any questions, to please give me a call if they have questions on anything, so.
And if there's, next steps, kind of moving forward, if there is open dialogue, if they want to have like a meeting, is that something that, we want to do just to lay out kind of, these are the code items
certainly
that we
could.
see, highlight them kind of as guidance, just to work together. I don't want to be, always kind of the bad guy coming down on people, and,
Right,
if that's something that's needed, maybe we look at that.
sure. Yeah, we certainly can do that. That's not a problem.
So then, last meeting, we kind of tabled the conversation on nuisance abatement to see what would happen at this meeting. Is there any interest in the council to move forward? Doesn't look like there's much of anything to abate at this point, apart from the vehicles, so. Are we comfortable calling the matter complete?
I think with the progress that's been shown, I think I'm pretty comfortable with, I think they understand what we're talking about.
All right, well, thank you, John, for that report, and again, just, reiterate that to property owner and tenant. If there's anything more that we need to do, keep us posted. We'll consider it resolved then at this point. All right, we'll move on to new business then. On page 99 of your packet, we have some TIF projections for a proposed new housing development in the city. And so Jennifer, I'll let you lead into this with a little background.
Great. Just gonna find the page here on my laptop here for the screen. Sorry about that. There, okay. So we have Troy Schramm in the audience tonight with Schramm Construction. He's here to talk to you about a proposed multifamily housing project. It would consist of 104 units in Eagle Lake, and the proposed project would include the parcel R121018400013, and then another parcel R391018400005. The part of the development for which TIF would be sought is the part of the parcel that is currently, or the parcel that is currently located within city limits. The latter parcel that I just referenced is currently in Luray Township, would eventually need to be annexed in, but is not part of what would be considered for TIF. The part of the development for which TIF would be sought would include phase 1 with 56 units, and that would be 28 3-bedroom units and 28 2-bedroom units. Phase 2 would consist of 48 units, 24 3-bedroom units, and 24 2-bedroom units. And then I'll scroll down here so you can see there's a drawing here that Troy submitted. It's kind of hard to see on here right now. Maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. There you go. So you can see the areas here, here. And then attached in the memo that was sent out is a tax increment financing projection from Shannon Sweeney. He's a professional TIF consultant with David Drone Associates. The TIF projection was put together using some valuations provided by Blue Earth County. There's also an email from Mr. Sweeney, and he notes that the TIF project assumes that phase 1 would mostly be constructed in 2023, which would generate the first tax increment in 2025. Phase 2 would mostly be constructed in 2025, which would add to the increment generated in 2027. And the project would assume a tax capacity rate for a market rate project, and the actual duration of and the potential subsidy would have to be negotiated. What was put into the projection is what's allowed by statute. Something else to note, the developer would be required to make the units available to people of specific income levels if TIF were provided. 20% of the units made available to families at 50% of the area median income, or 40% of the units made available to families at 60% of the area median income. And Mr. Schramm will talk to you this evening, but we discussed that but for TIF, his project will not be possible. So that's why we're pursuing TIF and obtain a TIF projection, the market value information. Just a little background for anyone that might not be familiar with TIF. It's a method of stimulating economic development. It basically uses additional property taxes paid as a result of the new development to pay for the development. As the property increases as a result of the new development, the increases above the original tax capacity are captured. And then the taxes paid on the captured value are what's called increments. So the result of a TIF project is an increased tax base that essentially benefits all of the local taxing jurisdictions, city, school, and county. And once that district is ended, or that term is ended of the subsidy, all that additional tax revenue comes back to the city. So it's being brought to you this evening to kind of just bring it to it like a high level to start the discussion. And then if there's an interest by the council, we'll go ahead and move ahead working with Mr. Sweeney with David Drone Associates. And he would be responsible for reviewing the financial projections and then also helping us negotiate the business subsidy. And then a public hearing would need to be held. So I guess I'm not looking for any official action this evening, just to kind of start the discussion and for you to kind of give an indication of your interest of supporting TIF, and then also to be able to let Troy talk a little bit about his project and ask some questions. So.
You want to take over?
Good evening. Thank you for having me here this evening. My name's Troy. I'm the owner of Schramm Construction. And a little bit about, I'll start with the property and then I'll go into a little bit of history about what Schramm has completed in the past. And then the other thing is we can just just have a little dialogue if you wish about some TIF or questions about TIF. In regards to the project that is on paper this evening, essentially, where we're at here, we do have a purchase agreement. Schramm has a purchase agreement with the Foleys. Essentially, the property itself is still under wetland delineation. We're still working through that. We're comfortable right now to move forward with the dialogue that has been happening through the month of January with all the water and soil, and we're comfortable, but just so everybody's aware, this is a concept. You know, we're hopeful that we can achieve this, but we do still have to get through the wetland delineation, which is the first part. The second part here, as everybody's aware of what's taken place with, you know, just day-to-day living, whether it's our groceries, whether it's our gas, whether it's building constructions. That's another thing that we're definitely having certain challenges. You know, we're aggressive in regards to purchasing, getting things on the ground. That's going to be the same situation. Obviously, right now, we're okay with everything with TIF, but I can say, you know, as Jennifer said, the but for, a lot of things can change. Interest rates, it's just, so many things can happen. I'm not here to be any type of Debbie Downer. I'm excited to be here. We've been here with other properties, other projects here in the community. It's not only the multifamily. The other exciting component that I think that works very well here is how essentially you have the twin homes on the north side of, it's Connie, right? The north side of Connie, then you have the other private driveways. That's just association slab on grade homes that is being slated in that area. And then of course we have the single family. We do have the twin homes on the east side of Maple Lane that come out of Autumn Wind there. That's just the concept. I think truthfully, I'd like to see more single family. That's the other driving component. We've had nice success building in the city of Eagle Lake. We love being in Eagle Lake. It's great to be here. Any questions on the plat or on the proposed drawing or concerns?
You just mentioned that Maple Lane would continue from Autumn Winds, so the current cul-de-sac that's in Autumn Winds would open up and drive through then, so there would be more than just one way in and out.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of benefits to that also. Speaking with the city engineer and city staff in regards to water looping and making connectivity with everything down there. There's been, I think, exceptional dialogue how we can make things work there. The other item, we talked about sidewalks, et cetera. There is a plan. It doesn't show it on here, but there's definitely connectivity bringing it all the way down, through the whole development in regards to sidewalks. And well aware of it. The communities we've been in the past definitely will say we need connectivity. We need activities for children. What I mean by that is a playground area in the multifamily and, try to, make it a single family appealing.
You hit my other question was on the sidewalks, and you hit that. So I think the city just needs to look at if this does go through and stuff, where that second sidewalk connects to the other division, or the other subdivision. Because if it is through the Maple Lane down to 211 through Autumn Winds, it's very sketchy through Autumn Winds. So we would need to address that if that is the sidewalk that would connect the two. But that's a separate issue.
Yeah, there's lots of cars along the sidewalk on that roadway. The fourplexes or, the row houses, some of the things that you had kind of mentioned, kind of elevating maybe the Autumn Winds look with some hardy board and things like that, or is that on the other bits?
These are actually 8plexes. This is actually, it looks and feels totally different on the outside than what the Autumn Wind does. On the inside, there's a lot of similarities and stuff like that, but for the outside is gable ends instead of hips. It's essentially, it has more lipstick, it has stone on it.
Okay.
It creates a different feel altogether with it on the outside, but it does have hardy, it will have cement board siding, et cetera.
Do you have any estimation, based upon kind of the concept you've got here, any estimation on about the number of single-family lots that could be contained here?
In regards to the east side of Maple Lane?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, in regard, honestly, we haven't went that far as platting or ghost platting, any concept or anything like that in regards to.
Because it looks like there could be a substantial amount of single-family lots available there.
Yeah, we're basically, you're opening up 40 acres on that site. And if you look at 3 per acre, and granted, we're gonna have a lot of wetland to contend with on the east side also. But, could we get 90 homes in there? I would be that's what we are hoping for.
And then we'll call it the extension of Blaze Avenue over here on the right. That's the hill that falls down into the wetland. Is that kind of a a ridge line along where you've got Blaze there?
Yes, that is correct. And that's where it's going to be interesting, as we have a very good team that's working with the wetland, and we're trying to make that very beneficial for walkout lots without obviously encumbering the wetlands themselves. And, obviously we have to respect that. But, essentially as that goes down, for lack of better words, it'll be like Eagle Heights on the, overlooking the wetland down there.
And then one last question, I guess, that I have. Is there any opportunity for some assisted living apartments in that mix?
I would say yes. I mean, we're open for dialogue and discussion.
I don't know who would, be the people to bring that in, but, that's one of the components that we don't have here in town. And, if you look at the available land, around the center core, this would be about as close as you could get to what we'll call downtown Parkway Avenue with any of the developments. So I just, in my, I guess, dreams or visions over the years, that would be the place where I would plunk an assisted living apartment somewhere in there. So I just throw that out there. I know that's up to you and how it all works, and but I think that would be super beneficial to the community to have something like that to offer.
And that's a very great point, Mayor. I never thought of that in regards to that or any dialogue with it, but, definitely looking at the opportunity, absolutely.
Thoughts, questions, comments? So can you show us on here what you would say phase one is? You're looking at 2023 for construction start?
22. We'd be looking at potentially the fall of this year
Okay,
to.
but then in through
Yes, and
23,
then
yeah.
complete into 23,
Okay.
correct. So essentially where you see the playground area, where it's labeled, right there, you have the eightplex on the south side of Thomas, right there between the two. You go up, that one on the center would be, one of the eightplexes on the south side of Thomas would be in phase one. There we go. And then you just imaginary lines just going straight up all the way through the north, to the north.
Okay.
Would make the imaginary line to that area. So
everything to the west is phase one, would be phase one.
would be phase one. And then it's essentially off of Blake, essentially the slab on grade association homes, the two private driveways, we tried to accommodate those to get those into that also, into phase one with that. And then you go on the north side of Blake on that, where it says stormwater, again, you have the exception, the homestead there, but you have the stormwater. Again, that's all conversation, but it all depends how many single-family lots we could get there in that area. Has there been any market studies as far as what Eagle Lake would have for senior?
There was a housing study done by Blue Earth County. I don't know how many years ago it was. I don't know that it was specific to any senior housing. And I know those are kind of specific market studies. But we could look back to see, I know Blue Earth County had done a housing study probably in 2013, 2014, somewhere around in there. They might have updated it a couple years back. But that would have been just general, I think it was more looking at the county, in the Mankato area as a whole, more single-family. And there was some multifamily discussion in that, but yeah, we could probably pull out
That'd be
that study.
Interesting to have because, possibly to reach out to a couple people and see what is there respectfully a legit need in the city of Eagle Lake for that?
Yeah,
And
but
would they be
as far
willing?
as senior living, I don't know that it got to that breakdown
Sure.
of styles. Typically, what I've seen in those reports have been very specific, driven by a developer to see if the market is conducive for them to invest.
Correct. A little bit about Schramm Construction, and I'll just share just briefly in regards to TIF and to Schramm. Essentially, the last number of communities that we've been in, we've moved forward with city TIF in these applications here. And one is the city of Belle Plaine, there's 72 units there. One is the city of Jordan, correct me, I think there's 28 units there, or 32, 28 units there. And the other one is the city of Northfield. There's 24 units there. Now, what's intriguing and what if we don't, respectfully, if we don't have that in this area, it's hard to make it, to sell it to, essentially to the financing components of it, because it's just like, it has to be appealing. Yes, we're part of Mankato, but we're not Mankato. And, we've done this in the city of Belle Plaine and city of Jordan, Scott County, right on the fringes of the metro. And, we've accommodated the income qualifying. We have a professional management company that honestly has everything, takes care of our whole portfolio. That's Lloyd Management. They do a wonderful job for us. They make sure that we're in the covenants of when the audit happens annually, that we're into our, whether it's a 60/40 or whatever we elect to do for our housing TIF, if it were to move forward. There are those things that are in place, and, there is a track record there. So I just wanted to share that for that portion.
Any thoughts on, I don't know what our median income is in Eagle Lake, if we'd be that much different from Northfield or Jordan? Any concerns about the income limitations, moving forward, or?
The only concern I have right now, Mayor, is cost, as far as construction. As what we're being told by our suppliers, and this is whether it's roofing, siding, concrete, windows, everything that's on it, we can expect anywhere from a 3 to 10% increase quarterly this year. And I'm sure you're probably hearing the same thing. But, I'm not, that's why we're kind of eager to try to move this along as quickly as we can. Essentially, the sooner we can get this on the ground, the probably better off we're going to be. I don't think we're going to see things decline. They may be a small correction, but I think we can say materials are definitely going to stay the same. Maybe a little bit of a change.
I know there has been some community discussion over the years on, people that don't necessarily want to move out of the community, but looking for, that association style living with, especially, hey, give me a side-by-side duplex, take care of my snow plowing for me, and, that's what I like. So I think that market is open. I don't know, Anthony, if you hear that around the community.
Especially the slab on grades, those things will be gone, before they're even built.
And I would agree with you. And that's what is on the north side, on the private, that is in an association. There'll be a CIC attached to it. We'll get the element in there, the common interest community there. And what the idea is to take the twin homes to the south of, on the top side here, depends how it all lays out after the wetland delineation. And, you know, there are some wetlands, I don't know if, I think Jennifer, you have some of the wetland stuff there. We can definitely share it. There's definitely going to be some encumbrances up on the north side, but a lot of that can be worked through, we believe, with the delineation. Time will tell. We have to let the growing season start and start moving forward.
No, I think this is a great concept and something we need for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, I think, you know, our thinking, you know, in the, you know, the last couple decades has been, you know, more and more single-family housing. You know, has been kind of the push. Obviously, the market's changed to more multifamily. So, you know, really the biggest drawbacks, you know, if I can think of cons, is that we've got some residents on the west side of Agency that have looked over a cornfield or a bean field for decades that, you know, would be changing, you know, but we do have multifamily in the mobile home park to the south of the property. You know, 2 residences kind of enveloped in the property. So does the purchase include the current homestead, the Foley homestead?
No, it does
Is that-
not.
Okay, so that's your exception, the square there, right?
That is correct.
North
yes.
of Connie, and then,
Brunder, is that Brunder?
Under
Yeah,
the exception, yeah.
that's the other exception to the north.
you know, so as far as the council goes, you know, those are gonna be the property owners most affected by, you know, change of view and things. You know, some of the things as far as opening up Maple Avenue, I think gives us some relaxation of traffic on
On 211.
211th Street. You know, having other opportunities to kind of spill into that space as well. Does pose problems or challenges, I guess, as we have intersections now on Agency that haven't been there before. That would be a kind of a policing thing, as we've got 4-way intersections now where, you know, that had never been before. So, but also the benefit of trying to, you know, bring some sidewalk connectivity in here has been one of our challenges for a long time. And, you know, this starts to really kind of pull things together. So, and I think, you know, some of the neat kind of housing views you've got along the north side of Blaise there, you know, facing off to the north, I think would be, you know, kind of exceptional places that people would be looking for. So I guess from what I've seen, I'm excited, and, you know, obviously, you know, I don't really want to use TIF, but the market is what the market is, and if we can gain this for the community, I think that's a good use. You know, there's going to be obviously a lot of naysayers about, you know, using this, but you know, I think this is kind of the next step in our community development, and this fits into a plan that I think we've all looked at. So yeah, I'm excited. I'd like to see it move forward.
Mark, one question quick. On your top right there where it's listed park, but also listed wetland, that would be essentially unusable parkland though, right? With it being wetland, or is that gonna be green space for kids running and things like that?
No, that'd be wetland, and actually to the east, you can see, as you go towards the Terrell property, you know, there is a parcel there, and again, this is just concept, but really none of the road there going to the north, there probably won't be enough room to construct without purchasing something from Terrell, or, I think it's the Terrell family, isn't it?
Yep.
That owns that?
Jerry Terrell, I think.
Okay, and so really, essentially,
So seeing
That
it listed
east
as
going-
park doesn't really
yeah.
matter as park. It's more wetland than park.
it's more, definitely more wetland, and then the idea is what's Xed out there, you know, one day, ideally, we should be able to get a road in there possibly. But yeah, it is park, it is wetland, I mean, it's labeled park, but, you know, the vast majority of it's wetland.
Okay. just where if it was developed where houses didn't go in and all of a sudden a park went in their backyard and people got that whole thing again. And then as far as on agency where there are intersections and stuff, is that something that the city looks at on where stop signs going? Is that Bolton Mink? Is that, I mean, how does that part happen?
So we had a meeting with Brian Bolton Mink and Troy and his engineer. And so when we go through the whole plating process and just making sure everything's laid out, and then also in conjunction with Blue Earth County, since it's a county road too, so. But I just want to mention too about the park. Troy and his engineer had asked about, do we need to put that in there, or will it be the calculation? And I said, just until we go through the planning process to be safe, I just try to factor in there. But, you know, if it's not feasible, the in lieu of is most likely the way it'll.
On the new developments, is
Shaped
there
out.
anything that says in our code that, especially something that's extensive, needs to have playground of a certain size or green space of a certain size? Or is that not part of any of what we're wanting to do where big developments come in, they just still go to the other 3 playgrounds?
I think it all has to make sense in whether or not the city too can take on, you know, the maintenance of, you know, a park area as well. And Troy has that area for the park playground for the multifamily. So we do have a provision in our code, but I think there's other factors that need to be taken into consideration. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to have a park in an area that isn't maybe accessible or feasible.
And it might not be with this. You know, if we get something that has 100 family houses come in and all of a sudden it's 300 additional kids,
Right.
having the capacity at our existing parks for those additional kids too.
And that's the beauty of it, and that's what we enjoy. We enjoy coming in and working with this, working with the city staff, you know, addressing those items, and, you know, how do we make this successful? Because, you know, obviously, we want to make it successful as well as everybody else, you know. Yes, you know, we know why we're here, but respectfully, you know, everything's about connectivity and safety. It's that simple. The other part is just in regards to, as that's labeled, without the topo overlaying it there, it is actually fairly rolly back there. And there's, you know, there's going to be a couple challenges there. So as you look at park, you know, there's not a lot of flat land there, so.
One other thing to mention too, and I know Troy touched on this before, but the water main looping, we had spent quite a bit of time, the city's engineer, city staff, trying to negotiate with the current landowner to get a utility easement for the water main looping, which is critical for Best neighborhood out in Eagle Heights, that we have that some redundancy. And so through this project and working with Troy, he's very aware of the city's needs for that to happen. So I look at it as a huge plus in the city's direction.
That's a great point. As you go down to Connie, that water and sanitary would be connected in the phase 1, even though it's not in the phase 1, if that makes sense what I'm saying. Essentially, you will have the loop there, but our phase 1 stops. We'll connect it here. This is where our connection is coming in at. We'll bring it here for our water and sewer, but our road will stop right here. We'll put in our infrastructure, so we have that right away. That was the discussion that we had.
When you make the purchase, is that for the entire 80 acres?
Yes. We have a
So-
purchase agreement for the whole
Okay.
80 acres.
So as, you know, kind of looking forward, you know, if we move forward, you said I'm gonna do phase 1, and then all of a sudden now we've got 60 acres that never happens, you know, and it's kind of landlocked or blocked off. So, yeah, just, I guess for my mind, thinking forward, if it's all under your control, then it can be a nice process.
And it isn't a controlled, it is aggressive. The multifamily is aggressive. The single family, the roads, everything that we're putting in, I mean, you know, there'll be a couple $1 million sitting here right away.
Right.
And then you add the multifamily, you know, that's gonna be significant too. I mean, essentially, you know, you're looking at a $15 million property here.
I think it's great. I'm excited.
We are too. I can't wait. Just let the growing season begin. Let's get the delineation done, know what we have to deal with, and we look forward to it.
So next steps, is there anything that the council needs to do at this point?
You know, I think just kind of giving the general consensus that, you know, that you guys are in favor of this, and we'll work with Shannon, to really save us some time here if we can get the district set up, get the public hearing scheduled, and then when Troy's ready to get going, we won't have to wait for that, so. If you guys give me the go-ahead, I'll talk to Shannon and he can start that process. It doesn't mean that you're committing to TIF, you're just starting the process of considering it.
And so, as far as annexation, is the first 40 acres already in the city limits?
So it's, sorry, like right, yep.
So there wouldn't have to be any annexation at this point until you moved further into the project. So the public hearing then would be more for TIF district?
Yes.
I'm just thinking, you know, is there what to do with any, you know, public comments on the project itself? You know, the last housing development that was proposed, we had a process that kind of went through and listened to some of the resident concerns. And so I don't know if you're open to, you know, gathering up some of that to see if any of that can be, you know, mitigated first if there's anything. But, you know, generally what we're saying by moving forward, I think, is that the project works, you know, in our opinion. And right now it's zoned agriculture, so we'd have to do some rezoning. And I think at that time we would have a public hearing. You know, I just don't want to get to a point where we expend a whole bunch of dollars and get to things and then, you know, have concerns come up that maybe weren't presented, you know, early on. So, you know, and once we've got this, I think we'll start to see if there's concerns from the public that come forward. But
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, the zoning, the rezoning, replatting, or platting, pre-plat, that will not start. The last discussion that we had with Jennifer here was a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Actually, 2 weeks ago. And the dialogue that we had was, we just want to, before any engineer plans go out, before anything, we just want to make sure that we know what we're dealing with the wetland.
right.
And, because that's going to dictate a lot of things. It's definitely, when you look at everything, it's very encumbering. It's more encumbering than what it really lays out to be. I mean, you know, these guys know what they're looking at and on both sides. And we just have to understand what we're dealing with. With that being said, you know, I don't know the TIF, how long Shannon wanted to prep or anything like that, but essentially, are we looking at, say, the growing season is technically, can we look at it April 1? That may be a little, maybe, we don't know what the spring's gonna be, but can we look at that, and will we, you know, from that point, would we be looking at pre-plat, you know, then doing our TIF? I mean, I guess that's dialogue that we definitely can have later too, but.
Yeah, and I think if we start to work with the city engineer, we could start to lay out kind of those dates and what that looks like.
Great. And I did talk to Troy because we had talked about when to kind of, if he's not the title owner, but he has an agreement, I believe, with the property owner that he would be willing to apply, and that was kind of a concern that I had and wanted to research whether or not we could move ahead with some of that stuff. But I see where Troy's coming from, that you don't want to invest in getting through all that platting and if there's gonna be changes to the layout and, but we has kind of started working through the concept plan involving the engineer, city staff, and just kind of going through, and I'll put together a letter, you know, checking off the different items, but I think the next step here, you know, is just to kind of get this TIF process started but for that TIF, it's probably, you know, maybe not going to be a feasible project.
Any other questions or concerns?
So is there a public hearing? Because I can't remember if for the Jackson property, if there was a public hearing, or if it was just everybody showed up. But would there be a public hearing with this? Does that need to happen sooner than later? So just like Jackson's where he was making adjustments? Question one, and then two, if there needs to be annexation and, TIF public hearings, can those two be put together so it can be on the same night and people aren't coming in repeatedly and he can keep moving?
So, basically with Justin Jackson, he kind of went through some of try to get feedback without, following because he wasn't the title owner of the property owner hadn't actually applied for annexation, well, they applied for annexation, and that's what we had scheduled the public hearing for before he had withdrew his purchase agreement, but yes, there's public hearing with TIF, and then with rezoning, plating, there's public hearings, public notice, so we just have to follow those processes, and those are laid out in code. But I don't know, it'd be up to Troy and Mr. Foley if they want to do the annexation. But I think you'd keep them separate, the TIF and the annexation, that would just,
Well, if annexation of the first portion is it's already in city
Yeah,
limits.
you don't
So you
need
wouldn't
that.
have to,
no.
I
Correct.
mean, you may not cross annexation hurdle for 2 years or whatever.
And for tax purposes,
On
you
that
may
other
just want to leave
bit.
it in the,
Because that's still just gonna remain ag land and while you're building phase one, right?
That is correct, yes. Because essentially, what is on paper, with the exception of it's hard to say right here, but I think the twin homes, is that encompassed on the whole thing as far as annexing?
so I think.
I don't think the road is it? I think it just may be,
No, I think it maybe is kind of right here on that edge. We'd have to look at I looked at that the other day. I thought it was kind of like right, it was just to the east of Maple Lane where it cuts off. And I don't have my map with me right now with city limits, but.
So the possibility that those might already be in the city limits.
correct. Maple Lane, the first set of townhomes to the east side of Maple Lane, I believe that is in the first, I know it's in the first 40. The second would not be, and it doesn't mean we're gonna put twin homes there either. It very well could just be single family.
Sure.
Also. With that, my point is, that'll come out as we, when we get the first phase done and we see how that goes, and then we just go into the second phase. Because the second phase will be actually, for the most part, all the development of Maple Lane, all the way from Autumn Winds to the north side. And then, connecting Connie and Blaze with the two that are left there, two little extensions, if you will.
When would Connie Lane, would that be the second phase or the first phase, the continuation of Connie? Because you just said that the continuation of Maple would be second, correct? Second phase?
Essentially, this going all the way to the north, to the west will be phase one. This here will be phase two, anything to the east of this imaginary line.
So that'd be 3 roadway extensions into, so Thomas, Blaze and Connie would all extend
Two Maple.
phase one, right?
That's what I was wondering, so that we would have access if we needed EMS work for anything.
Yeah, and so as we get further into it, yeah, we'll scrutinize that for emergency
Sure.
services and things like that.
Put a cul-de-sac or whatever needs to be.
Right,
in regards
right.
to it.
Troy, I should mention that's our fire chief, Vern Simpson, behind you, so you probably want, just so you know.
Nice to meet you also.
And I have been talking to Vern in the department about, some of the members of the department about turning radius, and I know I mentioned that to John, and we'll just make sure we get all of our ducks in a row here as we go through the process, so.
All right, well then if there's nothing else, I think, Mr. Schramm, if you want to work with city staff as far as laying out kind of that schedule, then we can discuss that going further with the council, then what the key milestone dates would be. We can begin to work with Shannon Sweeney in regard to the TIF documents and kind of get that rolling, and then once you get your wetland designations, and is there any danger, I guess, that you see in the project with their results and harming what you're trying to do?
No, I'm comfortable. Essentially, I won't share a lot in regards to where we're at in the purchase agreement, but I'll just say I had a significant amount of money go hard. Else otherwise, if I didn't have that, and we, for the first 3 weeks of January, I think we spent probably 40 hours on this, just trying to understand what the moving parts were of the wetland. Essentially, and it can change come April too, when the growing season starts. But what's been identified from last fall till now, and again, I say this, it can change, but essentially up by the homestead of the Foley homestead, where the barn, and then up by Blaze, up into that area up there by those areas there, it does get convoluted up there. What do we have to do? Well, we have a plan. Where the multifamily and everything looks fairly clean there. There's a little bit on Maple Lane to the north side. I think when prior, there's a Hickenbottom just right on the north side of Autumn Wind in there. And I think Mr. Potter had some of that come in and was, some of those items were taken care of, which was a plus to help the situation, I believe. But is there anything, as of right now, we're very comfortable.
Okay.
That's essentially why I just wanted to take our time just to make sure our diligence was done to the best of our ability, and I think it has.
Well, excellent. One of the things I think that we were looking for was some additional housing in the community, so this is opportune.
Yes.
That's what we were hoping for, so we look forward to the project, and let's put everything together and move forward.
Sounds great. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank
your
you.
time. Thanks,
Thank you.
Jennifer.
All right, the only other item of new business we have, page 108 and 109 of the packet, is a letter from LJP in regard to spring cleanup.
All right, Mayor and City Council, not necessarily is there going to be an action required here. I just wanted to bring it to your attention because in the past, at least since I've been here, the spring cleanup has been a curbside cleanup other than during COVID. And so we recently got a letter from LJP Waste Solutions, and they notified that the curbside pickup will not be an option this year, and they cited labor shortages and not having enough drivers to work the extra Saturday needed. So instead, LJP is proposing a drop-off site like we do for the fall cleanup at the park from 8 to noon on a Saturday. So I just wanted to kind of bring it to your attention. I don't know that we really have any options here, but back in 2020, I think you guys are probably all well aware of that city staff did field quite a bit of feedback from residents. They were not happy about not having a curbside pickup, and at the time LJP was not allowed within their union contract to be able to have their workers out picking up garbage at that time. But I just wanted to let you know, I did look back at the contract just to see, well, what does it say about the cleanup? Is there a reference to a curbside cleanup? And there is no mention about that in the contract. So we're just billed on a per ton basis for refuse that they pick up and take to the processing company. So I just wanted you to look at that, and here's the letter. Before we announce anything to the public, I just wanted to just share with you, get your feedback, and see if you still want to go ahead with the drop-off site, and I guess I'll just turn over to you and see what the council thinks about this before we go ahead and advertise this.
Does anyone have any thoughts?
Jennifer, I know last time we did it down at the park, there was frustration too on access. And then we said, you know, is there, we mentioned maybe seeing if we could get to the school where it's a drive in and out, our separate entrances. And then people with trailers don't have to try and turn around in a small area. Is that a possibility of having it in a more open area where it's not so congested? Or is that the best area?
You know, I'm not sure if it's been looked at doing at the school in the past. If the council was interested in that, we sure could ask them and see if we get permission to do it. I don't know, Brian, do you have any feedback on past experience?
Put signage up and have everybody go to the right, do the U-turn in the back, and have them, dump off and then go around. We can turn around in there with our big trucks, so I'm sure a vehicle and trailer can make it.
I just remember last time there were some people that came with trailers and not used to backing or turning in tighter areas, and it was,
You just drive around there and just make a loop, come back up, have it one way around.
I was gonna say, that's the only thing I remember from last year, was there a lot of frustration about length of time and turn around and kind of the flow of traffic through it, so.
like the on-deck people were still at the top of the hill and someone was leaving before, I mean, it was kind of
Was it
quite the
marked?
system.
Was
that
it
wasn't-
marked with cones or anything though, or not?
I-
It was
Yeah.
last, but last
I don't
time?
think,
Oh, wait, are you guys talking about 20,
it might have been 2020.
See,
but-
and I talked to LJP and they said that before I didn't go to that cleanup myself, so I remember seeing all the cars, but I don't remember how it actually worked, what it felt like in there. But they said, cars wouldn't have to, I think they had cars stop and there was separation, and this would be it'd be different, just hop out through, or they'd come get your stuff.
That's all I remember, was last time there was several people just, took a long time, the flow wasn't very
Right.
thoughtful maybe.
Is there an option of putting some, I know that there's like townships will do a large, roll-off dumpster. Is there an option for that instead of doing a bottleneck from 8 to noon of just dropping down, some big roll-off dumpsters for the week? Like, cause many people don't, some people work on Saturday mornings or something like that, just put, having a big, I don't know how many yard dumpster, but just have a
Probably
big,
40.
yeah, just down, have, a couple through the week and just rotate them out, that might be, then you won't have to deal with traffic control.
Yeah, and then if they're from the city or not, because the people hear about it, they'll be just driving in by truckload and stuff.
True. Or you could just put a sign that says surveillance is on.
I think that was my only thing, is just witnessing it, especially that one year, but just the people that don't know how to turn or getting their stuff unloaded, another person coming quickly. It was just a lot of cars that weren't really moving real quickly down there, so it was, you had essentially allow the whole morning to dump. Or wait till the very end and hope you got in. Yeah.
Yeah, another thing.
What weekend is it? I'm done.
Well, another thing too that happened, Carrie just mentioned to me, and we were talking about this in the office last week. LJP, I forgot, it was just when they had some truck issues, and so I think they had like one truck that during 2020. It was just a perfect storm for bad situation. Now they're gonna have 3 trucks, so they'll be able to, empty out. And the complaint I foresee is we're gonna get complaints about, well, I don't have a means to get my stuff to the park, and I don't know what to do. If we can talk to a service organization, see if they'd be willing to help people that are really, in a bad
I
situation.
remember last time that
but-
happened, someone posted it online, and I think someone with the Lions Club reached out to him and said, hey, I can come pick it up.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I wouldn't go too crazy with that, because then you're gonna get people that will just not want to do it. But I think that's my only biggest concern, is like getting the right location, especially if we're doing 3 trucks and not 2 or 1, and not having it too congested where it's easy for people to drop off, easy and quick.
Since this isn't a contractual obligation for them, what are the odds of talking to the other garbage collectors and see if they would do a one-time curbside pickup?
I don't know.
Who does North Mankato's? Cause they do 2 a year, I think, down,
It's probably LJP.
really. Are they gonna be pulling out from all the other communities? They are.
Yeah, it's not, yep,
It's not happening in North Mankato or other places either.
that's what I've been told.
So, before we move down this road, I mean, it wouldn't hurt, I wouldn't suppose to ask the other companies if that was something that they would be interested in. For me, the curbside component of this is the best part, because probably 50% of what is put out on the curb is recycled in some way. People come and take it. And so, if we do just the collection, everything goes, to the landfill. So, I mean, to me, the curbside had like double bonus. You throw something out and a scrapper would come and take it away.
That was part of the fun. Just
Part of the fun?
Yeah, just watching people roll by.
So, I understand where they're coming from, but, this is something that we as a council don't have to do. This is something we've done for many, many years. I mean, it's not something that we have to provide, but I think the residents have come to expect it and appreciate it. So I'd like to do whatever we can to try to maintain a curbside pickup. And if that's a different hauler, one day, I don't know what trouble that causes, because they end up hauling most of it then to LJP's processing site anyway, right?
Yeah, I was just looking at the
think it's all
contract on
sorted.
that one page, and I suppose we'd have to see if you wanna, I don't know if that would be, comparing the rate of what it would cost with the CPIU. And I don't know if the other, other waste haulers would charge for their staff time in addition to, I don't know how they do it. We could just sort of look into it though. Well, we can do some research and come back at the next meeting with, what we find out here.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody says, no, we don't do that, or no, we don't have the staff, or it's, way too expensive, then obviously this is our only option, so. Yeah, I just think it would be nice to see if there are other options to do curbside, in my opinion. So we really don't need to do anything further?
No, I did not feel comfortable with staff, saying, yep, we're okay with this because of the feedback we got last time. So I thought better bring it to you and we'll do some research and bring it back again at the next meeting, so.
All right, well then you had an extra piece on the table in front of you. The next item is Wabash Valley Park picnic table order.
Yes, so I just wanted to bring to your attention, we had placed an order for some new picnic tables, benches, and trash receptacles for the parks, and we placed it last April. As with everything that's, shipping is behind. We still haven't received the order. They keep telling us it's gonna be this date, and then it gets pushed back again. And right now, we're looking at March, but chances are we're not. If we get it this summer, we'd be lucky, I think. And so in talking with St. Croix Recreation, who we placed the original order, they said, well, you can cancel that order and then, because they're gonna be separating ties with this company, and they'll work to get us some new pricing, which they did. Brian's been in contact with them. Or we could continue with our order at the rates or the prices that we were quoted before. As you'll see, and Brian can talk about it in just a minute here, the prices have gone up quite a bit. So I'll turn over to Brian, let him kind of explain this new estimate he obtained, and then let you decide if you want to cancel the order that is still hanging out there or what you want to do. So I'll let you go ahead, Brian.
Well, I guess the prices are in front of you, and you can see, they did go up a lot. I'd like to, it'd be kinda nice if we did get the order filled that we did purchase or ordered back in April of '21. If we could get those, and then, cause we had money put
set aside in the capital outlay for that. And then, you know, and then if they do come forward with the other order, you know, it's definitely, stuff that we can use for the park. We definitely need more garbage cans down there and stuff too, instead of the plastic cans. And with the other new park, we need more picnic tables. So on the new order, there's 4 picnic tables, and 4 benches, where the other one was 2 of each. And like I said too, the prices went up quite a bit, so it's, you know, typically, it'd be nice to have both orders. You know, cause too, like this other order, we might not get that till next year, I don't know, the way stuff's going.
So we ordered this back in April.
Correct.
Did we pay for it at that time?
Nope.
And Mayor, when we ordered it, because Brian and I worked on this, you know, part of the reason we ordered it through St. Croix was we were getting all the other playground equipment too. But it was delayed right away because Wabash or what, they were moving their warehouse. So everything was on hold for like 6 weeks when they moved warehouses. I don't think any of us expected, including St. Croix, expected the massive delays following warehouse moving. But I know, Brian, when you and I talked ahead of ordering this, you had some other suppliers that you've ordered the tables and stuff in the past. Is that availability there? How those prices?
We did, that was, that Johnson, and no, they don't handle what we had before.
Okay.
Or what we have now, I should say. So, yeah, it's real hard just to find what we have now, you know, unless we, you know, switch it up, but, and then two, you know, I've talked to Johnny, the sales rep here. I went through emails with him, and then I ended up just calling him up just to make sure that we're gonna get the right thing, cause every time I get an email, it'd be something wrong on it. So, the last time I called him up and talked to him, and then that's when I got this other estimate here, so. Hopefully all that's the same, but I'll talk to them and verify that it's the ADA tables and they're green and black and like the ones that we have before we place an order.
Yeah, I guess my only thing was just making sure on that, cause like, we order stuff from Uline, so I just I've seen them on Uline and naturally looked, and they have them on there for cheaper than they have here. I mean, not a whole lot, and then you have freight and stuff. So I just didn't know if there were other places besides these guys, especially if it's gonna be an extended amount of time before we get them again. And again, I don't know if they're even in stock in there or not, but just, so we looked at all options, I guess. Be nice to have some before losing another year out of it.
So do we know the availability of these then? Is that kind of what you're talking about? We wouldn't know until we place the order?
I think in that one email, they said, ship in 45 days. Was that,
Okay, so the other one is more of a supplier issue.
Yep, 45 days.
Okay.
You're right.
Well, it said current lead times are 45 days to 14 weeks. So that's a big difference, based on when it would ship. But we were also told 6 weeks and it's been almost a year.
That's Wabash Valley, right? Is that what we're talking about? So I guess I'm confused, like, so we have the $3,900 order that we made from Wabash Valley. Are they gonna ship us that someday
supposedly,
at that price?
yes.
Yes.
So there's no benefit to us canceling this order if this is the new price.
They
for
probably
these
like
things.
yes, exactly, and that's what Johnny said, because I said, well, if we cancel this order, is there gonna be penalties? He said, oh, they'd love it if you canceled the order. So I think we should just sit on it, so.
Well, there's extra things in here, right, so.
So So what are they saying about the order that's been ordered and
So
delivery on that? So
we're
talking
looking,
45 to 14 days?
no, March 14th is what they're telling
Yep.
us, but it very well could be, he said, if you get it this summer, I would be very happy for you, but he doesn't know if we're gonna get it this summer even. So they keep
Yeah.
pushing, they keep giving dates and then pushing it out and,
So who's pushing it? Is it Johnny that's pushing
no.
it?
No.
Wabash, or Wab, how do I say it?
Publishing.
Yeah.
Who knew picnic tables would be so hard to get?
I know.
But it says up there, quotes are
Chips
effective
in
for
or-
30 days.
We place the order though, that's before, yeah, you gotta play, we've already,
It's been
yeah.
placed
So
though.
that, the order's been
We submitted it back in April, so,
2021.
Yep.
I see.
Are there silicon chips in these things or?
Well, I say wait for them.
Yeah, I don't think cancel that first order, cause like you said, if we could use them, that price is $100 cheaper than even I've seen on just retail sites online. It's just, what do we do on getting anything this summer?
Cause the other thing now, so when I'm budgeting for a couple picnic tables and a couple garbage cans and a couple benches every year for like the next 3, so I budgeted again for 2022 for more picnic tables and, not thinking that this is gonna be a big deal. But, so if we do keep this one that we placed in April in 21, I just didn't know if we could order this other one or order 2 more tables and 2 more benches and a couple more garbage cans and stuff. What's your thoughts? Cause I budgeted $10,000 for more like picnic tables and garbage cans and benches and stuff for the parks.
Where are these going?
Well, Eagle Heights, they have one picnic table down there that we took from the main park. So they're in need of at least 2 picnic tables and a couple benches and at least 1 or 2 garbage cans there, that there's none there. And then, we'll need, we wanna replace a few garbage cans down at the park, where the plastic garbage cans are by the backstop and on both areas there, and there's other down there. Up at Fraze Park, we need a garbage can up there, and,
We were
And
short
some-
some picnic tables at
and-
Eagle Heights. When we took out the benches, some of the benches broke. So I think we went, 2 of them were damaged, and we were gonna replace with picnic tables because there's 8 inches of, wood chips now. That'll keep getting moved around.
and then we need, we have 1 wooden picnic table down at the park that's a ADA. That's the only ADA picnic table that we have. So we need at least 1 at each park, maybe 2 down at the main park. So,
Well, if you wanted to go wood, I'm not trying to plug my in-home business, but if you wanted to do wood tables, we could do treated wood lumber tables until you wait.
that, we have some tables, the wooden tables down there. And then that were in the pavilion that are still there.
Well, I'd say let's get some garbage cans if we need those. I mean, can we move temporarily those wooden tables that we had out for the parks thing around since we don't have a pavilion, or?
Yeah, and we only have 1 ADA picnic table throughout the whole city.
Sure. But this was your plan to get these pieces anyway?
Yeah,
For 2022 budget?
yeah. And if we can use the 2021 budget for the $4,000 one, and we actually had more money put away for that, actually, that we did not use.
So as
Correct. And we can't get anything.
Well, do we want to look at other quotes? Do we want to get some other people involved and?
Yeah, I have been, looking, I don't know, Beth,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just looked again on the U-line that we order from, and, the one isn't, the rectangle is not ADA. And the 6 foot, you know, to compare 6 foot, the one that's not ADA on here, your 8 foot is, but your 6 foot non-ADA is $550 compared to $800 online. So, I mean, it's substantially cheaper by going through these guys. And I remember the same thing kind of was with that, with the playground equipment and stuff. If you want to just go to any, Google it and find it, it is more expensive. So they were giving us good pricing for it. It's just when you can get it.
What does he say about, what's this Power Play Sports? Did he have is that the 45 day to 14 week lead time, or?
the other one that Johnny has, that's, it's the dip coated, tables and stuff, and they give a 20-year warranty, and everything's dipped, the legs and everything, but they're a lot more expensive than what this quote is. And the 20-year warranty, the tables that we have are over 20 years old, so I don't really know if coated legs would really be worth that extra money.
What's the manufacturer of this?
That's that,
8900.
what's it? Well, they're getting it from that company that starts with a W.
No, that was the original one, right?
I think it should be both of them. Well, no, I'm sorry.
Because this was
Yeah.
Play Power, or?
Yeah, I don't know. Jennifer, do you have that email?
I don't know that I got the email. I think he sent that just to, or was it on the email to me? I don't know. Let me check.
Yeah, it is a different company, but I can't remember what the,
Hold on, let's see here.
So,
I think
Oh, Pilot Rock? Pilot Rock?
that's the more expensive one, I think.
Expensive one.
And then there's the other company.
I'm not seeing it.
or do we want to keep this order, reduce this order, so at the end of the year, we'd end up with, 4 benches and 4 tables, so reduce this to 2 and 2?
But I think you were gonna keep buying more benches anyways and tables to keep replacing and adding more.
Well, not even to replace, just to have, because we're short with the new park, and we, and up at Fraze Park, we didn't really have any. We have, the bench that's in the playground area, but we don't really have any other benches out and about.
So say we got our tables last year, like we were supposed to, you would still be coming to us with this proposal regardless, saying I
Correct.
need more.
That's
Correct.
what I was,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I was headed. So at the end of the time, we still would be within budget, and we would have the amount of tables, if both orders were filled this year, wouldn't have what we need for all the parks.
Correct.
So Brian, just to understand, you would scale back that 8914 one, right? Just a little bit? Is that, just to make sure I'm following, is that what you're saying?
Do what?
You'd scale it back just a little bit on the quantity?
It does, well,
Or
I,
no?
I could, but I think I budgeted $10,000 for, park stuff this year.
Okay, and then the other one we'd take out of capital outlay, because unless it's capital outlay, it doesn't carry forward, so we can take it out of there.
Correct.
And there's money in capital outlay. It just is money that we would be putting towards everything else at the park, so, okay.
Well, I'm only one voice, but I'm for it going, cause I see at both parks, I'm not phrased enough to know, but seeing at Eagle Heights and at the city park, the need for them, especially the parents, I know at Eagle Heights, were commenting a lot on how much they like the picnic tables, where they could bring a pizza down there and eat and hang out and stuff and not have to just sit there on a bench. So there was good feedback on that. And it just stinks that the price pretty much doubled in a year, but I think that's been kind of across the board that the price has doubled over a year. So I would, if there's a need for it and you already budgeted for it, I would say let's get moving sooner than later and try and get for this summer if possible.
And then you could send me that information from that other company that you're looking at too, that has some stuff, or don't they have what we need?
The one is, they're more expensive. And then
Oh.
even like Global Industries we've looked at that do have ADA, their tables are $1,300. And and we're getting quoted just over 1,000, so.
Yeah,
One thing I'm gonna mention here really quick, I don't know if it's gonna work or not. When I was worked in, for another city, another county, there was what they had, these statewide health, improvement grants, and so we got like garbage receptacles, bike racks, stuff like that. And I was talking to the guy from Bolton and Mink who's gonna come to our park board meeting on Thursday, and about if there's any SHIP monies available. So if we can't use it for like planning and we could use it for equipment at the parks, maybe if we could just wait until that meeting and maybe hold off on placing
yeah,
it.
I'm not gonna order anything
Okay.
tomorrow.
Sounds good. All right.
So you're not gonna order this right away then?
Well, I'm still kinda looking at different options for this. And, cause I talked to him just the other day, and then when he sent me this, it doesn't say ADA on it, and it wasn't the green and black like we talked about on the phone. So I have to call him again anyways and talk to him and see if there's any other options. I just wanted to bring this to you to let you see what's.
Johnny's great, but Johnny's also just helping out. He's retired and helping his son out who owns it, and so he's usually like talking from Florida or something else, and
Where-
I'll get it to you. And so making sure we are getting what we're wanting is key.
That's where he is right now.
Yeah, he'll bring you back a shirt too.
Right after this round of golf.
Well, let's keep the original order, cause I mean, you can't go wrong with that pricing then. And then if you do some additional research and see if there's maybe a grant opportunity for this next one, maybe we can take that up then at the next meeting and move forward then.
Is there, I guess the only concern I have is if it's gonna take 3 months to get, is Brian good if, after Thursday's park board meeting, we get an answer whether there's funding or not, where he can get stuff ordered instead of waiting another month and then we're now pushed back until a month later, or are we still good timing wise?
I can probably find out tomorrow if any of these items, I didn't even think about these items for that grant, so let me check into that tomorrow, and then if we could just get the go-ahead, if it's okay to go ahead and order. I just wouldn't wanna place the order until we, if we're gonna apply for a grant, then we
Yeah.
can.
I think what you're talking about is approve the amounts.
Right, so that if the grant doesn't work after Thursday's park board meeting and says, nope, and I don't wanna just waste another 20 days, knowing that we're just now pushed back another 3 weeks to getting equipment, or tables and garbages that we
Yeah,
need.
cause if we get the go-ahead, if we could spend, the basically $9,000, but I wanna see if I can, find the same stuff cheaper also, so.
We'll make sure it's exactly what you were asking for,
Correct.
cause you're saying if
I want apples
if
and
it's not an
apples.
ADA table, then do we need 4 ADA tables?
Yes,
One at each park, two at the main park and one at each of the other parks.
correct.
Then when we hold, like, if we're doing music on Parkway again, or events like that, Tater Days, any of that, do we have to have ADA tables at those events too?
I don't know, cause I did bring the wooden tables up there, and I did bring the one ADA one,
So we would have that wooden one as the floater that could be used for those events.
correct.
All right, and if we're comfortable moving forward, I look for a motion to approve up to $9,000 for the picnic tables, benches, and trash receptacles in the event that there is grant money or, what are we, I guess, are we buying these or are we waiting for a grant? I'm confused now on what.
I think we're
I-
buying them,
Go
but
ahead.
it could be less if we could get grant money.
I I just wouldn't wanna say, go ahead, place the order, and then try to get a grant for it once you've already placed the order, so we just wanna make
Yeah,
sure.
we won't do that.
Yeah, that's all I wanna do, and I can find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
If it'll even be eligible.
Still confused. So if there is no grant money available, the council is approving purchase of these one way or the other. So
Correct.
I guess it doesn't really matter about the grant at this point. We have a proposal for some new picnic tables and benches. Would anyone like to make a motion for the purchase?
I'll make a motion for up to $9,000 for the purchase of 4 8-foot ADA tables, 4 6-foot, 4 garbage cans, for the parks, and get where it is the cheapest to get, or use grant money if possible.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? I guess for me, I would like to discuss, these things gotta be brought to us in a better fashion. I mean, if I'm confused about what I'm buying, you know, I'm inclined to say no, period. I'd like to see, this is our budget. You know, if we're gonna make purchases, I think we need to have better data for the council. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Motion carries. All right, next we have city administrators report.
So, let's see here. Just want to give you an update. I've had a couple questions from just a couple residents about the population signs after the 2020 census. I just wanted to let you know, just as an update, I did talk to Scott Thompson with MnDOT, and he said typically they update the signs along the highways as soon as the federal government certifies the census numbers. And he said typically it happens at the beginning of the year, but for various reasons, as you can about imagine with all the things going on with COVID and whatnot, the certification was delayed. And so just recently they received the certified numbers and they're in the process of planning their updates. He said we could probably expect to see the updated population sign sometime this summer. And I did put a little blurb in the newsletter, just letting people know about that. And then I did talk to Blue Earth County. They said the guy that does the signs, I think, is out right now. He did email me back, but he said they'll either update the sign with like the new population figure, or if they can't do that, they'll just replace the sign. That's the one that comes in on 17 here. And he said we'll just have to kind of work out whether or not the city has to pay for it or they have to pay for it. They didn't know at the time when I had submitted an inquiry about that. So just to give you an update, if you're wondering how come that hasn't changed, that's why it'll be coming hopefully by this summer. So.
What is the population?
I think 3,278. It's in the newsletter. I can't remember exactly. I think it's 3,278 if my memory's correct. But we did increase 35% in population since the 2010 census. So that's something before we get our website updated, we'll need to get that on there, because right now we just keep talking about we're the fastest growing since 2016, which now is kind of starting to feel a little bit outdated. So I was thinking maybe before we go with our website, revamping, we'll just try to get something changed to that effect. So I think that's pretty impressive, and to increase 35% in a decade. So, and just to let you know, I did talk to GMG RETA staff a couple years ago asking, how do you find out, or how can we update this, like in 2016, we're named the fastest growing city for our, the different population sizes. And they were gonna do some checking on it and help me, and I don't think we ever got anywhere with that, but I can check with the staff there again and see if they can help, maybe with an updated stat or something. So, and then moving on here quick, Highway 14, County Road 56 construction. As you know, that's coming up in the summer. MnDOT will be here at the March meeting. They're working on some staging maps, and they'll come here to talk to you about that. And I just wanted to just include as a reference in the packet kind of how we got to this point. We kind of anticipated that some people maybe are new to town, missed when the survey was done, and weren't aware of it. So so in talking with MnDOT, they're gonna go through just that, campaign to educate people, let people know what's going on, answer questions, just kind of look at everything again. So that'll be coming up in March. And then the next thing, Music on Parkway grant fulfillment letter. And then just wanted to make a note for planning underway for another series, possibly scale back depending on how much money our committee can get. We're working on that right now. And so we'll hopefully be able to do something comparable or maybe just slightly smaller. But in talking with just via emails with the committee, I think there's definitely an interest by the committee to do another one. And we've gotten so much positive feedback from the public and people asking for that to come back. And then I just want to let you know, I did talk to our community forestry member, and she's going to be at the March 7th meeting to talk about our EAB plan and getting that adopted. Part of the DNR EAB grant, one of the requirements is that we do have an official plan, and before we were just kind of working off a model plan. So we've been talking about that, and she's going to present that. And then after that, I guess my goal would be to have you either adopt it at the March 7th meeting if you're comfortable, or the April meeting. And then one other thing, I had made a note in my memo with the community forestry members for the next service year. I did not apply for another one because I guess in my mind I was thinking I wanted their help to do a tree inventory, help us with that EAB plan, and I'm not sure that I would be able to come up with enough work for somebody unless Brian and his department has something, buckthorn removal, but that's not gonna be a winter project. So we can still talk about it. It's just I wanted to bring it to your attention. I did not apply for another one, and they are accepting applications right now, but something we can talk about yet. And then moving on to the MAPS District Facilities Committee, I have been serving as in the staff component on a committee with the school district. It was formed back in 2020, and we've been looking at each of the different school buildings and needs and future growth. And so you probably are familiar, there was a survey that was sent out this past, I think it was this fall, kind of just gauging interest in upcoming referendum supporting different improvements in the district. One of the things that is important to Eagle Lake is that included in the proposal is additional improvements at the Eagle Lake Elementary School. So without boring you with my whole memo, which you can read on your own, I wanted to bring it up tonight because they're going to be moving on to forming a new committee, and they'd like to have elected officials. Right now it's been staff from each of the communities in the district. And so I just thought we'd talk about that tonight and see if there's somebody interested in serving on that. It'd probably be either once or twice a month, and I'm not sure if the meetings would be during the day or morning, evening. I know our committee met during the day, so. But anyways, just wanted to talk to you about that, and maybe somebody could, let us know tonight if you're interested, and I can communicate back with the school.
Jennifer, I would say that I'm very interested in that, on behalf of being a 8-year employee of the school district. As a sub-custodian, I know the needs in that building in various ways. So I would like to be on that if unless anyone else wants to be on it.
And I'll let you guys hash that out. I'm not sure who wants to do it or if anybody.
Well, we have a volunteer.
Yeah,
I would be interested too, but go ahead.
And one thing to keep in mind too, when you're considering this, is that you will be kind of the rep for, once that referendum, they really kind of kick off that process. And I think that the elected official then would be somebody that people in the community could come and talk to and ask questions about the process. So whoever does it has to be sure you go to the meetings and, be kind of in the know. But we'll get you up to speed on all of it.
Jennifer, the one question I would have with that whole piece is, the referendum's not gonna be and maybe it will be, but just a quick pass, but there's a lot of questions I'm sure that'll come up. And I feel like it's gonna take many whether it's council members or community members to kind of get the referendum to pass. So I would assume that even if, whether it's Garrett, Anthony, myself, John, whoever is serving, how does that work then? If after a meeting, it's like, hey, I had a meeting today, give a recap, now Anthony, Garrett, and I are talking on that, is there issues with?
Yep,
council
that's a
support,
great
you know?
question. So the best thing you can do and the safest thing you can do is just send it to me as a clearinghouse and I can send it to everybody. So that's an excellent question to ask. Yep. So just to be safe, just send, notes or whatever that you want to have sent out to the whole council and I can get that out. So.
Well,
Who,
that can also be placed under,
the
council member reports too. So, I mean, if you're out at a, various, organization or meeting, you can bring that back, to the full council too. So, yeah, a couple of different options.
Wasn't Denny on that committee? I think he was. Because I think it started right before the pandemic and then I think
It was-
stopped, or?
it wasn't elected officials. I think he had talked about it or he was interested in it, but it was more, they just had like staff people from each city that attended the meetings.
Well, do we want to gather up more information, or is this something that, the council would like to make a motion to appoint Garrett or Anthony to
Or Beth?
this board? This is the facilities committee, right? So this is
Building and ground.
purely
So
for
it's
new
gonna be a new
facilities.
committee, and I don't know, I've asked the school some different questions, some follow-up questions about like when the committee's gonna meet and what, how often, the time, and some of that stuff I think is still unknown, but, it would be, I guess I'm not sure if I'm answering your question right, but
Well, it also, I believe
it's gonna be a different name, I guess.
it's also looking at all the buildings though,
Yep,
isn't it?
it's not
Yeah.
just Eagle Lake, yeah.
I think two questions I would have for him too then would be, is there a cap, is it one elected official for each community, or can there be multiple?
It's probably like the joint powers board for All Seasons Arena. I've got
Yeah, and then two, if Garrett's tied up, can Anthony fill in for that meeting or something too? So,
Absolutely.
Can we have an alternative,
yeah.
alternate, not alternative?
So
I would
guess
assume,
it's kind of
yeah,
that two-part question of, because I think there's a lot of vested interest in, especially when you talk about Schramm's development and we got a school that's over capacity already, or at capacity.
I think the more I think about it, I better not add more meetings to my schedule or else I might not have a home to come home to. So go ahead, Garrett.
I need one to get out of, so. I need one to get out of right now if my wife is watching. You didn't hear that.
This is being recorded.
It is, yeah. I take that back. Anything that I just said in the last 30 seconds, I retract. But.
All right, well then I'll look for a motion to appoint Garrett Steinberg as our elected official to the new District Facilities Committee.
All motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I
Any opposed? That carries. Thank you, Garrett. And Jennifer, if you get additional information, you'll just pass that on?
Sure, I'll try, yep. Next item, we have, I just wanted to let you know, I'm in the learning process here. I received, communication about serving on, LeSueur River 1 Watershed 1 plan. I've only attended one meeting, and there's a lot of people who really know what they're doing on this, but they have invited, city staff from the different, cities that are, part of the watershed. So I just wanted to keep you in the loop in case you hear anything about it. I did attend, a remote meeting. I will continue to do that. And like I said, I'm learning, more about it as I go along. So just wanted to keep you in the loop on that. And let me just double check and see if I had anything else on here. Oh, and then legislative priorities and upcoming legislative action day. So typically I've tried to go to the legislative action day for at least the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, sometimes League, just depends. They each have their own. But what I'd like to do is put something together, and then I'll take it to the EDA, and then I'll send the city council a copy, but, I guess some of I think our priorities are probably pretty much the same. I guess just off the top of my head, some of the things that I look at for our city are just making sure that, you know, we have a vested interest in, trying to get money for clean water, wastewater, water, or not wastewater, with Mankato, so it's beneficial to Mankato, but, you know, some of the monies that are out there for, you know, water treatment, PFA, you know, childcare, housing, just different economic tools, economic development tools. So I'll try to put something together, and I think it'd be good for us to have something to be able to send our legislators and let them know what's important to our community, and, you know, make sure they're advocating on our behalf. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Council member reports?
With regards to music on Parkway, I don't think that we're late to the game here. I think that I'll send out an email to the committee that we had last year, and then we can discern where we want to go forward for this year. I do think that a scaled back event will be just fine. I think that if we look at it the way we did last year, we essentially had a scaled back event with one rain out in May. And so we could look at perhaps doing 3 dates, June, July, yoked with Tater Days, and August. And we can look at similar bands or different bands. I think that I did also hear from other people that many enjoyed the events and coming out to the water tower area. I think that the location that we had for that was actually a really ideal location, and we can, I think, I think that booking the food was harder than booking the bands and the sound guys. And so we'll just work on that, and I'll get an email to start that going.
Very good, thank you.
ASA board, we are looking at updating All Seasons Arena. Right now, the number figures are kind of up in the air, but we're looking at $2 to $3 million of updates, basically changing the layout of All Seasons Arena. If you haven't been up there, it's just an awful building with zero flow. So basically moving lobbies around, bathrooms around, concessions, kind of really reconfiguring the whole building to make a better flow of it. You know, look at also the exterior as well to see if we can do something with that parking lot, if we can add an entrance and an exit, so it's not just one in and out. But those are all things that I feel like, and even talking with Jared, those talks have gone in a positive way more lately than in years past. Now Jared's trying to figure out who's paying for what and who's, you know, what is Eagle Lake gonna be asked to pay for, now with the new ownership, you know, what is the city gonna pay for and all that type of stuff. So I guess the good news is there's actually a plan in place on paper with what it would look like with pricing. Now it's basically coming down to the specifics of who's paying for what and is this feasible for that building.
All right, well, keep us posted then. Anybody else?
I had a community ed and rec meeting. They talked about, you know, year-end recap and how community ed finished in the green, did great, numbers are up. Had a side conversation with some community ed members over the weekend as well that talked about summer ACEs and how they're gonna cap it, I think, at 230 kids, which is a lot of kids. So they're expecting numbers to go up. They're getting more people. They're doing their field trips again, or expecting to. So that's exciting to not have the kids just come in and be stuck in the building all day, or on the playground. But they also focused a lot, and they're pushing a lot on how to communicate and involving, especially the Somalian community that still is struggling with the English language, and everything is put out in the English language. And as we continue to grow with that demographic too, on how we can communicate, not only community ed and rec news, but also just Eagle Lake general news to that demographic that can't speak it. They're doing a lot more videos and involving kind of a Somalian rep that helps serve as the in-between to help answer some questions and get the videos out in the language they can understand, so they don't get newsletters and just throw them right in the garbage because they don't know what they mean. So it was kind of an eye-opener for me too, is how can we make sure that we continue to involve the non-English speaking community that keeps coming, that will continue to come into Eagle Lake, and make sure that they feel part of our community and not that they're getting stuff and can't read it and things like that. So, but there's great growth in that, and they talked specifically about Eagle Lake and the movies that they've been putting on, and how they like from a community ed standpoint, like the relationship that we've continued to grow with them. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Good, good. Lots of reports. I have reports as well. Excuse me. I went to the MAPO Policy Board meeting the other night, and we did approve our connectivity plan. So that MAPO will be taking care of planning for connectivity from Eagle Heights to our Agency Street project. So that will begin pretty much right away. I don't know if you've seen any schedule on that.
I think the link is planning to get going on that as soon as they have all the approvals, and then hopefully wrap up, I think. Well, there was some talk about like traffic, counts and that were delayed, but I think by the summer, we're hoping to be done with that.
Yeah, it was only a few month process, so we should
So
see
you're
some
talking sidewalk connectivity is what they're,
sidewalk, bicycle, multimodal, whatever,
So they made room on
put
Agency,
into
huh?
it. Well, no, they're just
that
come
would
up
go-
with
oh, the plan.
yeah, a
Okay.
plan to,
was like,
what that could look like. No,
I was gonna say, I didn't think we had a room, and then all of a sudden we do.
Region 9 development, as well, I went to that, and there's kind of a lot of movement on a lot of their electric cars, and kind of the looking ahead on what that looks like infrastructure-wise, and some of the, just kind of climate change things that have been going on. So Region 9's director has gone over to Europe with a group from Minnesota to make some connections there. So I think you'll see probably more about that. But they were kind of giving statistics about Europe and their electric vehicle consumption, production. And they kind of thought in 4 to 5 years, majority of the vehicles on our roads would be electric vehicles, based upon how they're selling in Europe. So that poses a lot of other issues with consumption, electricity, infrastructure needs, and things like that. But that was kind of the gist of that meeting. And just a note, I'll throw it in here, the council members report. I just wanted to announce to the council that I don't plan on running for mayor again. It's been about 20 years sitting up here, and so I wanted to give everybody at least some opportunity to think about, whether that's something that you would like, or if there's other people in the community that we could bring up. So election is in November coming up, so that gives us, I don't know what month it is, February, 11 months here, 10 months to look for other council members. What's that? 9 months? So I just wanted you to all to know that. That's kind of my plan at this point. I hope to retire for good this time. You'll see there under announcements, we do have a special council meeting on February 16th to discuss some of our water treatment facility planning, and then a number of other meetings there to look forward to. So Anything else before we adjourn into closed session for performance review? How does that work as far as YouTube?
We'd have to turn that off. Thank you, Mayor. I would have overlooked that.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Appreciate
how that all
No, so we
works.
would, we'll just, kind of like if we do a closed session, I think we went through that exercise once we'll take care of that, though. Thank you for pointing that out. So we'll have to turn off the volume and then, or the sound, and just have like a blank screen or something that we could type with closed session on it. So it's still running, but it just closed session, then we go back. So we have the same, no audio, yep.
Any other items before we adjourn into closed session?
Jennifer, where are we at with microphones?
Okay, so I've sent a couple emails, and I've not heard back, and so I'm thinking that, I should have called them today, but, before I don't know what the holdup is, because they have the microphones, they just needed to order cables specific to our room for installation and then coordinate installation, and I have not heard back, so I don't know, I'll give them a call tomorrow, but I don't know what else to do. I don't know if they're running.
Benches.
I know, right? I don't know where these cables are coming from, but no, I'll do some more checking on that. So.
Just one more thing, as a counselor, I want to say thank you to Mayor Tim for his 20 years as the mayor, and your passion for everything here and all the stuff that you've helped me with being the mayor.
Thank you.
I'm not ready to say you're done yet.
We have 9 months to work.
But we'll convince you to stay.
I will be here for 9 more months. All right, I'll look for a motion to adjourn into closed session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Should
that carries.
should we confirm that the machine is muted though?
Yep.